Hi guys, as you know, the World Cup started, and over the past few days, we've had some of our first games. So I decided to pick my top 3 games so far and discuss them with you guys. Let's get into it. The first game we're talking about is our World Cup opener at Eden Park, where New Zealand soccer saw their biggest ever turnout as they took on Norway, number 12th in the world. And coming into this match, Norway were the favorites to win both the group and the match, considering they're so much higher in the rankings than any other team in Group A. However, there's a lot of unpredictability relating to that, considering we haven't seen Norway play in any pre-World Cup friendlies since April, where they tied to Sweden and lost to Spain. Leading up to the World Cup, there was a lot of excitement about two main players. First, Ada Hegerberg, who missed the last World Cup due to equity protests, but now Norwegians were excited to see what she could do to revitalize their offense as a star striker. Second, Hannah Wilkinson, the 31-year-old star striker for New Zealand, who now, playing in her home country, had the opportunity to do what was never done before, win New Zealand their first World Cup game. Let's talk about the game now. I was really impressed by New Zealand's aggression from the beginning as they were able to dispossess Norway early and set the tone. That's really important to me because Norway wasn't trying to pressure the center back significantly, but thought that they could win in the midfield by overloading and could counterattack from there. But because New Zealand was willing to fight the game in the middle, they were able to not only just hold the Norwegians off, but they were able to recover the ball there and create plays. That's why you saw them able to get the ball out to the wing and even play some really great through balls to Hannah Wilkinson that honestly were not converted by the New Zealand players, but showed the ability to create opportunities at a level that I have not seen from this team before. Going into halftime, you saw them having that attacking momentum, which they were able to convert right after halftime in the 48th minute, where Hannah Wilkinson became the first New Zealand player to score in 3 World Cups. That's also not to say, though, that all this stuff about New Zealand means that Norway played badly. If you watch highlights, you'll see Norway had their fair share of opportunities, especially in some of that second half subbing. You saw the possibility of a goal coming. They just didn't have that clinical finishing ability. If you see, there were so many missed opportunities. The scoreline could have been different. Norway had the speed on the wings. They had the players who were able to create the opportunities. They just weren't able to finish them. And I even thought that there could have been a momentum shift when the penalty miss from New Zealand happened, and the fact that there were 9 minutes of stoppage time where Norway put the New Zealand players under constant pressure. But kudos to New Zealand. They were able to hold off and get that first ever World Cup game win. Lasting thoughts, I think that New Zealand was probably rough around the edges in many scenarios as they were making unforced errors and losing possession in key places. But importantly, I want to take away the fact that they had that fighting spirit and were willing to make up the difference in maybe skill quality to using their work ethic and confidence, and that really came through in this game. I also don't think I want to count Norway out just yet. They had many good chances in this game, and they have some really good strikers, and given their group, I think they have good odds of getting through, especially if those star strikers are able to warm up from this opening match and build on what they did and convert the next opportunity. Overall, I think this match just showed how exciting and possibly unpredictable Group A can be and this entire World Cup can be. So we're bound to see upsets like the game we just saw. Our next one is also a big game as the US, number 1 in the world and favorites to three-peat this World Cup, took on Vietnam, number 32. Jumping into this game, my first impression was, as Coach Vlatko Andonovski said himself, the US will rue these missed opportunities. They had close to 30 shots, but lacked the clinical finishing skills we saw in games like last World Cup, 13-0 against Thailand. And if the US is to make it far in this World Cup and play harder level teams where they're not going to get that many opportunities, it's really important that they're able to finish the chances they get. But there were also good things. I'm so happy to see Julie Ertz back, and she's in that center back position considering Becky Sauerbrun's injury. And she played so well, both defensively and offensively. She created so many chances as she was able to split through that Vietnam midfield. And I also think Lindsey Horan played a really important role as the glue of the midfield, and she is so good in creating opportunities and even got 1 goal in the game. I also think we got to talk about Sophia Smith, as she's a really big part of this offense. She scored 2 goals on debut and 1 assist, and if we can continue to see her rise throughout this tournament and get even better, I think the US has a really good chance. It's just dependent on whether these younger players can step up and rise to the opportunity as she did in her first game. Lastly, I want to talk about Morgan and Rapinoe because I don't think either played the best in this game. While Morgan had a few good flicks, like the one that set up the Sophia Smith goal, I think that we need her to play more of a number 9 position that can finish like she has in past World Cups if we're going to see success. As for Rapinoe, I think that she wasn't playing with much of a purpose, and that might be unfair considering she just hasn't had much game time, but I really would love to see her more in a leadership position and in those set pieces and in those moments where she's in the right position, like she was in this game, finishing her opportunities. Final thoughts. I think that the US strategy here was mostly to play long balls in the box and hope to win in the air because the Vietnamese are significantly shorter, but that strategy is definitely not going to work against teams that are both taller and of a higher quality, so I'm interested to see how exactly that's going to adapt as the tournament goes on. I also think that the backline hasn't been tested significantly, both in the send-off game against Wales as well as this game here against Vietnam, and I am both excited and nervous to see how the Netherlands game plays out for that reason. Honestly, this game was important to me because of goal difference. I think that the US have an opportunity to get ahead here in this game, and that's because if Sweden tops their group, which is likely considering their competition, whoever's second in our group will play Sweden. So there's a definitely easier path for topping the group, and that's why I think it's so important that in a scenario where the US slips up and possibly ties another team on points, having that goal difference to push us through will be so important. So I wish they had scored just a few more goals and converted a few more chances, but hopefully it's enough. Now I want to talk about the Japan versus Zambia game. A lot of people were excited to see Zambia this tournament, considering their recent form, beating Germany and tying to Switzerland. Commentators thought that this could be the upset of the tournament, but Japan stamped their authority on the game and the tournament through their convincing 5-0 win. Even though they initially had several offsides in the beginning, Japan was able to take advantage of the super stagnant Zambia backline and not only split through their midfield, but also take advantage of their wings by playing the balls right around defenders, running up the wings, and finding lethal crosses into the box that almost always found a Japanese shirt. And even around 4 Zambian defenders, they were able to play it with quite a bit of accuracy. I think tactically the Japanese did a great job. They know they're not the tallest, but they know that they have the skill on the ground. So playing those crosses on the ground and trying for a Japanese player rather than those headers seemed to work a lot better for them. However, in scenarios where Zambians try to play balls into the box, you could see that the Japanese were able to manage and usually won the header. That's really impressive to me because that management's going to be really important if they're going to have success in the rest of the tournament. Final thoughts, I would say that Japan were the favorites coming into this game. That's pretty obvious. However, the extent to which they stamped their authority is what I was really impressed by. And if they're able to keep the consistency with which they played and the fluidity with which they played into future games with higher level teams, I think that Japan could have a lot of success in this tournament. So I obviously didn't get through all the games, but I wanted to pick ones that I actually had something to say about and that I watched enough to know and not make unfair characterizations of the teams. I hope you guys enjoyed my video and comment down below your thoughts on the first few World Cup games.